This is set number 8293, the Power Functions Motor Set. Ages 9 to 16, 10 pieces, and I guess it counts as either a Creator, maybe a Technic set. I think it's more of a Technic set, considering when it was released. This was released around, looks to be about, it says 2008 on the bottom, so I believe its release was around 2009. It will be corrected in the description if it's not. And retails for about $30 originally. This is actually still available in Toys R Us, at least in my location, for about $37, $38. So this could run between $30 and $40. It's not something you see often in stores, but is usually an online item. But I am happy to see it in stores, at least at my local Toys R Us. So let's take a look at the box. We first have just says Power Functions on it, and it shows off each of the main components of the motor set. Includes a battery box, a switch, a motor, and some lights. On the top of the box you can see why it's 10 pieces, because some of the other pieces we have include some rods and some gear pieces, along with these main Power Functions parts. I did open this previously, but don't worry about it. That's why it's like that. Don't worry, the boxes have been in worse shape than that in Toys R Us. I had one where it had a big hole in the middle. Anyways, on the back of the box you can see how these things are supposed to line up. If you're into circuits and you know, understanding how things operate, you can see this is kind of a direct path. You know, you have the battery box, which you can plug into any of the other sources, but they choose in this case to put the switch on it so you can turn it on and off, then have the motor running, and you also have the lights. So let's open this up and see what's inside. I previously opened this, in case you're wondering, just to see what everything looked like inside. I was going to do it as a partial building / demonstration video, but I figured it was actually a better idea to do it in a review than in a separate video from the review. So, what do we have here? We have this little Power Functions book, which opens it up. Includes lights, switch, motor, battery box. And it shows the different types of sets you can use it with. They show the numbers for those sets right here, and some sets even advertise on their boxes and instructions to use this set with them. There are some of those sets shown on the rest of the pages once we open it up. In this set, they only show 2 of them that you can use it with, but I'm sure you could find uses for many other sets. And they are advertised for Technic sets, which is why I will classify this as a Technic item. More recently, though, Power Functions has been used for Creator sets, so it's actually something you could use for just about anything. But as far as set orientation, I think this one, you know, pretty much makes itself known. It's a Technic thing. They show it used as a motor and battery box for set 8049 to make a motorized compressor function, because this already has some, correct me if I'm wrong, pneumatic pumps in it, and the motor and battery box will allow it to move a little better. On the bottom section, we have a motorized crane function, again using those components, but it doesn't mean you have to be limited to them. Instructions are found in each of these sets or on the website to how do you apply the motor and other functions. On the back of the instructions, you're really not getting too much you need to worry about. There's a lot of safety information though, because this product uses batteries for the battery box. So it has a lot of safety information in here regarding the use of batteries. Never use different types of batteries together or a combination of old and new ones. Always remove the batteries if the product is not to be used for a long time or if the batteries have run down. Never use damaged batteries. Use batteries type recommended. Blah blah blah. I think we can, you know, safely go through this. These are the types of batteries that are required for the battery box. 1.5 volt or some may just know it as a AA battery. And we need 6 of them. I will need to get 6 by the time we go through this review. So in the top portion, we get to see how the battery box is opened and how it's used. Alright, so that's enough for that little piece of paper. I'm going to fold that back up, and if we need it later on, we'll go back to it. As we look at the rest of the set, you can see each of the components are put into their own small plastic bags. So that kind of secures how you'll have these available in the box. They do run around loosely, as when I shook it, you could notice, it's kind of a bigger box than the actual products inside the box. So it is easier to shake around. I don't think that would cause it to break or anything, but, provides just extra protection. This one we have is the battery box. This one we have the motor with the cable to attach. Now all of these components do have the cables permanently on them. There is a way to snip them off, but I'd rather not. Here we have the switch. And here we have the lights. Now if you notice on the box, they actually show the lights a little bit differently on the front. They do not show this middle section. And that's something that I think is kind of crucial, because these lights cannot be separated too far from each other just by the look of it. We'll see how it goes once we open it. And then here are the plain Technic pieces that you get in the box. We get several rods and different types of gears, different amounts of teeth for each gear. And we also have some of these switch pieces. Well, not really. I don't know the exact term for it, but these are special pieces where if you're building something that meets at weird angles, these pieces will allow it so you can still turn them. There's a special way they're made. It's actually really cool. And you get to continuously use it even though it's in a different angle. So I'll open these up and we'll take a look at them. So here we are again, and I have all the packages opened except for the one with the gears in it. Let's see what we're going to go to first. I already put batteries in the battery box, so I'll show you how that works. We'll start off with that. So we have a switch on the top. This allows the power to go on in either direction, so it's depending on where you put. Actually, maybe it doesn't matter which way you put it on. But we're going to have to test it a little bit later to see if it has to do with going forwards or backwards or anything like that. You'll know it's on when you can see this little green light flashing. So I'm just kind of staying steady instead of flashing. This is the only spot on the battery box where you can put other objects on it. And these two sides allow you to connect it to other Lego pieces to put it into a frame. There are no screws that are involved with taking off the battery box. As you can see, we had it slide open on both sides. Also on this side. And that's how you get to the batteries inside. It's a little hard to put the battery on this side, but once you get it in, it's very secure and we can see that the batteries work. Next up we have the switch. This switch allows you to, have power running to or running against any certain objects, depending on which side it's attached. Now, if you're familiar with power functions, you'll know that these sides are where you connect them. So you can connect other objects on there. So for example, if we had this attached on there, you have something attached here, and you have a switch that can alternate whether or not the next side gets power. I notice down here there's a small little side switch. You can switch this back and forth. I don't exactly know what that does, but if anyone knows, let me know in the comments. It has a small little, almost like looks like the Omega sign on it, but I wouldn't know if it is Omega. And if it was, that would have been referring to, I'm not sure. I guess it's the frequency? I'm not a physics major. But that is an ability to switch it back and forth. I don't know if it has an effect. But you can see you can attach other Lego objects on the top of here to allow the switch to work. You have one that's in neutral, one that's on one side and one that's on another side. 3 parts. Next up, we have the lights. Now these lights, like I said before, are attached onto one smaller piece, so you can't really separate these and move them around the city, but they do have what seems to be surprising to me, they have a pretty nice long range. It's very interesting how these are, you know, just looking at these and how they could be used. Frankly, I don't know how they're going to fit onto Lego pieces. I think they have to fit through some of our Technic bricks. And we'll get to those when we test out more of this machine. We'll just put that on there. And lastly, of the mechanical parts of this set, we have the motor. There's a very basic motor, which you've probably seen before. It's also available in some of the Lego education kits for WeDo projects. This is a very easy thing to work with. You have parts where you can put pegs on to hold the motor in place, as well as you have studs in the bottom to attach it on the bottom. This one also has that function. And the lights also have that as well. This one can turn in both directions, clockwise and counterclockwise. So we have all these things attached. I will just briefly scan over the pieces that we get in here. Of course, there's nothing that you could actually build from the set alone. This is more of an accessory pack, so I'll mention that once we get to the final review of it. Here we have all the pieces kind of scattered out, and I put the smaller gears on this side. They have about 8 teeth to them. These are our axles. They're about 5 studs long. And we have our other gears. Frankly, I don't know if there's a difference between these 2 gears. They seem to have the same amount of teeth, but this one does have a little bit of difference on the inside. I think it has something to do with how it turns. But let me know in the comments if there's a difference. This one seems to have... I'm not sure how many gears, but you can probably count them from the screen. These 2 seem to have, like I said, the same amount of gears. This one having a little more room on the inside, depending on what you need to use it for. And then we have these pieces. Again, I don't know the official name for them, but when you have them on if you have them on an angle, you'll be able to get it turning in some way. I know it can turn like this. It's also supposed to turn like that or something. I'd have to build something to get this demonstrated better. In fact, a lot of this will have to incorporate other Lego pieces and Technic pieces, in order to show off how it works. So let's start off with these objects. What I'm going to do first, I'm just going to use one at a time instead of connecting multiples together like they show on the back of the box. What I'm going to show first, we'll have the lights. We'll see how well these work. So I have the battery box on now, and you can see the lights can work. Not too bad. I'm just going to quickly turn off the lights so you can see them a little better in the dark. Now I wish I had the lights on so I could get my way back to the seat. Wow, look at that. Nice bright light. Let me try to separate them so you can see them individually. So there's one light, and then we have another. So these look pretty good in the dark. These remind me of the kind that Artifacts Creation uses for some of his custom builds when he adds on lights to some structures like the haunted house or the Batcave. He does a really good job with it, by the way, check him out. But that's the kind of same idea as far as the lights go. I will have to see what kind of Lego pieces these fit onto. And now let's get to our other components. I forgot to mention with the lights, if you turn the switch in either direction, it will still emit the lights. It's only when you have the switch in the middle that it will keep the lights off. So I'm going to put a few of our pieces from the set on here, and we'll try to see how the motor works. We'll see which way that it turns. Okay, and we're ready to go. So you can notice this is a very fast moving motor. We got it at a great speed, very fast speed in fact. And from the looks of it, it seems to be turning clockwise from our direction. If you had it facing the other way, it would be counterclockwise, but from what we can see, it's clockwise. And this would be our counterclockwise direction, still at the same speed. I'd like to try this out with the small model I made a while ago. This is a model that is used to display minifigures. I don't use it too often now, but I'd like to see how well it works with putting minifigures on it. Let's get this robot dizzy. Alright, check it out. And the other way. Now the structure itself is moving a lot because the motor isn't held down in the same position as the rest of the model. And you can also hear the little bit of rattling in here. It's mainly because the gears inside are just touching each other to create, to be able to move each other. I think there's also a loose piece here and there, so that's why that happened. But I still enjoy that. That was pretty cool. Alright, so our last part, I'm not going to really cut out of it. Our last part is going to be the switch. Now, for the switch to work, we need to apply another item. And we'll apply each of the motor and the lights to see how well they work in both directions. Okay, so the battery box is on. We'll put one of these axle pieces back on, this time on the switch, so we can give it a better way of moving it. We'll put another one on here, so we can test that. How's that look? So right now we have the switch put kind of backed, away from everything else that's going on, and the motor is going in a clockwise direction. It's in the middle, and now it's going in a counterclockwise direction. I want to see if this switch in the bottom does anything different. So you can see it's actually moving it without having to move the switch by itself, which I find to be kind of interesting. It's kind of a dual switch then. Let me try that again, see if we can get it any clearer. I'll have it in the back, so we have it moving one way. And by switching this small button, it allows us to change which way it moves. So it's literally a dual switch. You could move it on either the top. Oh, maybe I should unplug that first before everything goes flying. You can switch this back and forth, or you can have it in one position and switch it from here. However, if you keep it in this position, it will still be running in one direction or another. So to keep it from moving anywhere, you just keep it in the middle. The difference between one side of the battery box being switched and the other side is actually the direction that is changed. Now if we look at this again, if we pull it back, we see it moving counterclockwise. And then if we push it forward, it moves clockwise. So basically the direction is the only thing that changes depending on which way you have the battery box running. I find that to be very interesting. We've already had a test of the brightness of the lights. We're just going to test how well the switch works with them. Okay, it works that way. We got it working that way. Turn it this way and use this switch. And good. Let's try the other side of the box. Good. Good. Okay. For the final test of this video, and there are many more that can be made, we're going to try something kind of like what it shows in the box. Now, we only have one port on the battery box, and it seems we could connect multiple things together on that same port. So what you can notice is we can connect them on top of each other to have one continuously running, in this case the motor, and we have the switch that can allow the other things to turn on and off at different times. The lights, that is. We could also have it going the other way, the same principle applies. This is something you may recognize from what we've already been doing. We can even switch around the parts. So I will put the motor on the switch this time, and I will put the lights on there. If you know about circuitry, you'll understand this is a very easy thing to learn. Basically, the power is being supplied to anything that is connected here. And being connected to multiple objects, the lights can still receive the power they need to turn on, without any sort of terminal that will, tell them to go on or off, such as a switch. They can just continuously run with the battery's power. Whereas the terminal for the switch is making the motor turn on or off in different directions. And I also noticed one last thing. This section is actually open for putting axles in. So if you wanted to, we could take another few gears and use that as a way of switching the motor on and off. Instead of just a giant pull as a lever, we could have it as a gear setting. So now let's continue on. I don't really have much to say for these pieces without building something extraordinary. So let's just continue on to the verdict. If I had to summarize everything I think about this motor set into one word, that word would be inspiration. This model presents a lot of ideas that can be applied to models that are previously made, such as the one shown in our little booklet, the one that has two sets that this can directly apply to, and also provide some ideas for future models. If you want to make something using special parts, this is probably one of the cheapest options to get. And nowadays, this, like I said, runs between $30 and $40, which is an excellent price for getting these types of parts. Normally, you would get a motor and a battery box, and not many of the other parts, and you would get them in a larger Technic set or a Creator Expert set for, in the higher range, probably $80 or more. So getting it in a motor set like this is very useful. Even if you already have motors and battery boxes and other power functions devices, even if you have ones for trains, this is still an excellent way to expand your collection and allow you to build more ideas as well as build more models that can, be powered with different motors and sensors. Now I say sensors because there aren't actually any sensors in here, but there are some, like I said, with the LEGO Education kits, if you're using those for an education class, or in my case, I use them in Snapology, these would be excellent to correspond with those kits as well. You'd use the motors, motion sensors, and you can use more motors from this kit, the battery box, and the light sequences. Now, since I've worked at Snapology, I've learned a lot more about Technic pieces, how you can operate models, and work with robotics. So I think this is definitely something for more advanced builders. I'm not saying, on the box, it tells you the recommended ages are 9 to 16, which seems like a fair age group. Not saying that anyone below that can't build, and not that anyone above it can't build. It's just to give you a rough idea about if you're experienced with LEGO long enough and you understand the concepts that could make, really advanced machinery out of LEGO pieces, by the way, then you'll probably be into this set. If you're into robotics, such as Mindstorms, you might like this set, since it features a lot of the same ideas from those sets. If you're into Creator Expert or Technic or anything that has more mechanical uses, you might like this set. I would recommend, though, if you're going to get something like this, it's a nice addition for any sort of building project, whether or not it involves K'NEX or Technic. I mean, I may even use this just in my Lego city, which is going to be made more of bricks than of Technic pieces, but I could still make a way in the city to work these out. There's a lot more to explore to this set than what I've covered in this video. So let me know if you have one of these, and let me know in the comments what you think about the Power Functions kit. I do apologize for this being a long video, but I figured if you're not into Power Functions, this might be a good introductory to you. This would allow you to understand how the Power Functions work, and maybe explore for yourself. What I was going to say before, I meant to say, I would recommend if you want to get into Power Functions, or you want to expand your knowledge about mechanics and machinery, the Lego Technic Idea Book I will be reviewing in a separate video. There are 3 different books based on it. So stay tuned for that. I'll see if I can put a link in later on back to this video to mention it, because that one will help you understand basic structures that you can use some of these items in. Or you can even use basic ones, such as gears. It's a very nice kit, very good price, and lots of easy function right out of the box. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know how you guys like Power Functions in LEGO sets, and I will talk to you again later.